Your ass! What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Sunday drive, and it is story time. So today we're going to be talking about my 1995 325i, the second E36 that I've had, and sort of what happened with it. Now, I've mentioned my 325i in a couple of videos, but I've never really explained the car or what happened to the car, what the car was kind of about. So our story doesn't even really start with the car. It starts, I want to say I was 18. So this was like 2 or 3 years ago. This was way before I had Little Wing, way before I had the sedan. And its demise is actually on the channel. If you go down to like the very few first videos that I had, you can actually find a video of me like wrenching on it. Basically, I'm part of this Facebook group called SoCal E36 Parts. It's basically like a parts page for E36s in the Southern California area. So San Diego, LA, you get a bunch of used parts. You can post your parts for sale. Pretty good little Facebook page there. And so I'm on this page just looking at stuff because that's what you do with social media. And I saw this guy post an eBay turbo kit for like $700 or $800. I think it was, I want to say it was $700. And of course, it being like an E36 page, everyone's like roasting him because nobody runs eBay turbos on these cars. There are a couple people that do, but for the vast majority of people who boost these cars, they run proper setups. And so this guy was just getting ripped. Everyone was talking shit, making fun of him, and it was pretty funny. And I was gonna join in and I was gonna start roasting him too, but instead I was jokingly like, I'll give you $2,500 or I'll give you $250 for it. And so the guy hits me up, he messaged me and he was like, dude, just freaking $250, take it so I can take this post down, don't have to worry about it anymore. And I was like, inside I was like, all right, what the fuck did I just get myself into? But hey, it's like, he had a link to the original turbo kit, which was an eBay turbo kit. It was like $800. He bought it, decided he wasn't going to use it, so he posted it for like $700. And so I was laughing the whole way down that I went to get it. I don't even know why I got it, honestly, but I was laughing the whole way down, picked it up, paid $250 for it, was laughing the whole way back. I had no intentions on running this on my car. At the time, I thought, hey, Honda guys like to run eBay turbo kits. There will be someone else who could buy it. If I could flip it for $400, make $150, that would be sick. And so that's what I did. I picked it up, and it was like a stout little kit. It had a T3, T4 turbo, it had charge piping, it had a wastegate, it had a blow-off valve, it had oil feed lines, all this stuff, vacuum lines. It had like everything except for a tune, a turbo manifold, and an intercooler. It had everything else. It was hilarious. And so I copped this thing for like $250. And I didn't post it for like a couple weeks. I was just in school and work doing whatever. I was too busy to make a post for it. And so a few weeks go by, and then I see another guy post on E36, the SoCal E36 page. He posted a 1995 325i 4-door Alpine white sedan automatic. The car had like pink lug nuts. It was freaking slammed on like cut springs. It had like a fucked up lip. It was all sorts of bad. It was definitely a beater car. He posted it for $700, and he's like, need this car gone, has a bad fuel pump, $700, takes it. And so at this point I was like, you know, it'd be dope having another car. So I hit him up and I'm like, yo, I don't have $700, but I have a turbo kit that's worth $700. It's about $700-800. Would he be willing to trade? And the guy was a little hesitant at first, and he like looked up the turbo kit and he realized it was like legit for being an eBay turbo kit, even though the kit was a pile of shit. And he's like, yeah. So I cruised down there. He was up in LA. So I took the Suburban, me and my roommate, we rented a trailer, drove all the way out there, traded the $250 turbo kit for this 325i, and then trailered it all the way back to my house. And then I had a 325i that I paid $250 for, basically, because that's what the turbo kit cost me. And I was freaking hyped. I got a car for like a shitty ass turbo kit, which is nice. So then I start diagnosing it, start trying to get the car running again. The guy said it was the fuel pump. Was not the fuel pump. The fuel system was working fine. So I started doing like spark plugs, ignition coils, all this stuff, and I just couldn't get the thing running. And so I started doing actual mechanical testing on the car, and I realized that cylinder 3 had no compression, and like all the rest of the cylinders also had no compression. So the whole motor was shot. So basically I needed to get a new motor for it. So I went and picked up one that was mechanically good condition. I believe I paid $400 for it. Again, the guy was up in LA when I went to pick it up. And so then I start tearing the car apart, get that new motor, and I start pulling the old motor out. The new motor prep, like, it needed an oil pan gasket, it needed a valve cover gasket, so I'm working on that. And as I'm going to put it back in, I see that there's a auto to manual conversion kit for sale for like $500 or $600. And so I went and picked that up, and I was like, this is gonna be sick. I'm gonna have another E36 sedan. It's gonna be manual, not automatic. Dude, it's gonna be hype. I had the motor and transmission in, nothing else was hooked up, but the motor was sitting on the engine crossmember, the transmission was held up by the transmission crossmember. So basically the motor was in, it just wasn't attached yet. And that is when the drop top motor finally went. Just totally cylinder head done, misfiring, undrivable. So now I have two E36s and both of them don't run. And so I was like, fuck, man, I need to have one. And so I started parting out the 325 to get money to get the drop top running again. And so I sold like the bumper, I sold the differential, I sold some axles, I sold like a bunch of things off of that, and I actually made my 250 back pretty quickly by selling parts on that. And I didn't sell either of the motors that I had. I didn't sell the auto to manual conversion kit, so it was pretty nice. And my plan initially for that car was to make it into like a drift car. I wanted to drop a Ford V8 out of a Fox body Mustang in it, because there's a trick little conversion kit you can buy online. I'm a big fan of Vortec and a big fan of like the LSs and stuff, but honestly I think Ford V8s sound better, and that's why I wanted to go with a Ford V8. I know you can't make as much power, but you don't really need an ass load of power for a drift car. And so I start parting the car out, and then I put the chassis up for sale, and for like a month it sat there and nobody wanted a rolling chassis. So I basically scrapped it. Before I scrapped it, I took out the rear subframe, took off some of the doors, the fenders, basically all of the body panels that can come off fairly easily came off of the car. And me doing like the final tear down of the car, ripping the rest of the parts off, is actually on the channel. The chassis, when I destroyed it, when we crushed it, I took it down to Lee's Iron and Metal in Oceanside, and they gave me like 50 or 60 bucks for the whole car, and they just scrapped it. So I owned the car for like a little bit over a year, but I never drove it. That thing never ran. And so it was just basically like a car for me to work on, just to get better at working on cars. And I think it was a really good and useful experience to me, because I'd never pulled a motor before. I'd never pulled a rear end, never taken out a differential, like all that stuff. And so a lot of that stuff that I learned to do, like pulling motors, was on that car. Just figuring it out, ripping the damn thing apart. I thought it was pretty cool. And the car is actually still kind of relevant to what we're doing today. For those of you guys who saw the M50 E30 turbo motor that we built in class, that was the original motor from that 325. If you guys saw the series, you know we did a full compression test on the motor when we first brought it into class. No compression across the board, basically why I pulled it. We rebuilt the whole thing. It's going into an E30. It's going to be sick. On the same note, the transmission that we're going to be using in the E30 that I already have is from that 325, that 325 manual transmission. The pedal assembly for this car, Little Wing, came out of that parts car too. So while I never got that car running, it has donated a lot of parts, a lot of critical parts, to a lot of the other builds that I have, which is sick. And every now and then I'll have like a pink lug nut on my car, and that's actually from that 325, which is pretty funny. And while I never drove the car, it was a really fun car to own, simply because it was just something that I could wrench on. Even when my car was running fine, I would just go out there and work on that thing, you know, get better at working on cars. And I'm kind of sad that I had to scrap that thing, because nobody wanted the chassis, but I kind of want to do like a 325i sedan and 95 V8 drift car build, like kind of as a tribute to that car, because that was the original plan for the car. So it would kind of be like a tribute drift build to my first 325i. Alright, that is the story of my 325i. I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I will see you guys later.